Southern Italy in the 11th century was a fragmented region, marked by the presence of various independent powers, each pursuing its own interests. The remnants of the Lombard kingdom persisted through three rival principalities: Salerno, Capua, and Benevento. These states frequently shifted their allegiances to serve their political needs, alternately recognizing the Byzantine Emperor, the Holy Roman Emperor, or the Pope, depending on which alignment offered the greatest advantage. In addition to the Lombard principalities, the western coastal cities of Naples, Amalfi, and Gaeta stood out as prosperous trading hubs. Although these cities nominally acknowledged the authority of the Byzantine Emperor, they operated with considerable autonomy, effectively functioning as independent states. The Byzantine Empire also claimed much of southern Italy, particularly the regions corresponding to modern Apulia and Calabria. However, the empire's ability to govern these distant territories was often limited, especially following the death of Emperor Basil II in AD 1025. Byzantine rule was characterized by heavy taxation and enforced military conscription, which fostered widespread discontent among the local population. These grievances frequently led to uprisings, further undermining Byzantine authority in the region. Another significant challenge in the region was the former Byzantine province of Sicily, which had been conquered by a North African Islamic power in the 9th century. Under its new rulers, Sicily became a base for naval raiding parties that frequently targeted nearby Italian coastal cities, further destabilizing the area and posing a persistent threat to its neighbors. To the north of the Byzantine and Lombard territories lay the Papal States, nominally under the authority of the Catholic Pope. While the Pope could, in theory, rely on the military support of the Holy Roman Emperor, who claimed sovereignty over the entire Italian peninsula, the emperor's ability to enforce these claims was limited. This theoretical authority rarely translated into effective control, leaving the Papal States to navigate the complex political landscape of the region largely on their own. Around AD 999, the Normans entered the complex political and military landscape of southern Italy. A group of Norman pilgrims, initially traveling for religious reasons, came to the aid of the people of Salerno, who were being attacked by raiding Arab forces from the Emirate of Sicily. The Normans were skilled warriors, having trained from an early age in horsemanship, hunting, and survival skills. Their military discipline, armor, and ability to fight effectively in organized formations from horseback made them highly capable fighters. They were particularly known for their massed cavalry charge, a tactic that allowed them to overpower opponents and earn them a reputation for fearlessness on the battlefield. Despite their military prowess, it is interesting to note their Christian faith and piety initially brought them to the region, marking the beginning of their involvement in southern Italy. On the slopes of Mount Gargano in southeastern Italy stands the shrine of the Archangel Michael, a site of deep religious significance for Norman pilgrims during the early medieval period. In 1016, a group of around 40 Norman knights visited this sacred site and encountered Melus, a Lombard noble who sought assistance in his rebellion against Byzantine rule over Bari. Melus's opposition to Byzantine authority stemmed from widespread grievances among the Lombard nobility, who resented the empire's heavy taxation and compulsory military service. These policies often led to unrest, and in 1009, Melus and his brother-in-law successfully captured Bari and several neighboring cities. However, the Byzantine forces quickly reclaimed these territories, forcing Melus to flee to Salerno, where he regrouped and planned his next move. The encounter between Melus and the Norman knights proved pivotal. Moved by his cause, the Normans pledged to return to southern Italy with reinforcements. Initially numbering only around 250, the Normans joined the Lombard resistance as auxiliary forces. While their role was limited at this stage, their participation marked a turning point. This unexpected military involvement had significant consequences. It encouraged other Normans to come to Italy, not as pilgrims but as mercenaries recruited by local Lombard princes. This marked the early phase of Norman expansion in the region, setting the foundation for their eventual dominance in southern Italy. In 1017, Melus of Bari successfully rallied his Lombard forces and newly arrived Norman adventurers in a coordinated effort against Byzantine rule in Apulia. The coalition, based in Capua, launched a series of surprise attacks on Byzantine garrisons, quickly gaining control over much of the region. By the end of the year, Melus held authority from the Fortore River to Trani. His rebellion, bolstered by the prowess of several hundred Norman and other mercenary knights, achieved early victories and inspired coastal cities in Apulia to rebel against Constantinople in pursuit of local autonomy. However, the initial success of the rebellion was not sustainable. Despite their setbacks, the Byzantine Empire retained access to vast resources and military experience. In the summer of 1018, Basil Bojoans, the newly appointed Byzantine military governor of Langobardia, mobilized a formidable army to suppress the uprising. His force included elite units such as the Varangian Guard and Bucellarion cavalry, known for their discipline and effectiveness in battle. The decisive confrontation occurred in 1018 at Cannae, a site imbued with historical significance as the location of Hannibal's famed victory over Rome more than a millennium earlier. As the armies converged on the sun-soaked plains of Apulia, an intense sense of foreboding filled the air. The rebel forces, still reveling in their recent victories, were confident they could hold their ground. They knew the legends of Cannae, the place where the odds had once been defied. The Norman mercenaries, with their bold, reckless spirit, felt invincible, but they underestimated the might of the Byzantine war machine. The battle commenced with a thunderous roar of Byzantine war horns echoing across the field. Their heavy infantry moved forward in a tightly coordinated formation, shields locked together to create an impenetrable barrier. Meanwhile, the Lombard forces, commanded by Melus, surged forward to engage them. The initial clash was fierce and chaotic, with the rebels fighting fervently to breach the imperial lines. On the flanks, the Norman knights launched their charge, their armored war horses thundering across the plain, lances lowered, and aimed at the heart of the Byzantine formation. Recognizing the threat, Byzantine commander Bojoans quickly ordered his heavy Bucellarion cavalry to intercept the Norman assault. The two cavalry forces soon clashed in a brutal and intense battle. For a fleeting moment, it seemed as though the tide might shift in favor of the rebels, as the sheer force of the Norman charge appeared capable of breaking through the enemy's lines. However, the Byzantines were well prepared for such an assault. Bojoans, a seasoned and strategic commander, deployed his reserve forces, the elite Varangian Guard. These towering warriors, armed with massive two-handed axes, charged into the fray, cutting through the exhausted Normans with devastating force. The tide began to turn as the rebel lines started to waver under the relentless pressure. The battle continued for hours, with the Lombards fighting fiercely, driven by the desperation of defending their homes. The Normans, known for their boldness, fought with a ferocity akin to wolves, but their numbers dwindled as the overwhelming Byzantine assault forced them back. Bojoans' superior numbers and disciplined tactics began to have a significant impact, eroding the strength of the rebels. By midday, the rebel army was in full retreat. On the battlefield, the Normans made their last stand. Surrounded and outnumbered, they refused to surrender. By the time the dust settled on the battlefield, the once proud rebel force was virtually annihilated. Of the 250 Norman knights who had so bravely joined Melus in his rebellion, only 10 managed to escape the field of death. Melus himself escaped the carnage but was a broken man. His dreams of a free Apulia dashed in the blood-soaked mud of Cannae, his allies dead or scattered. The rebellion had been crushed, and the Byzantines had reasserted their dominance with brutal efficiency. The plains of Cannae, once the site of Hannibal's greatest triumph, now bore witness to another decisive battle. This time, however, it was the Byzantine eagle that soared, its imperial shadow cast long over Apulia. The Lombard rebellion came to an end, along with the fading hopes of the Norman recruits who had initially sought quick fortunes. Melus, the leader of the rebellion, traveled to northern Europe in an attempt to secure support from the Western Emperor for a renewed effort to seize control of the region from the Byzantines. Unfortunately, he passed away during the journey. However, he left behind a son named Argyros, who would later play a significant role in the ongoing events. In Apulia, Bojoans had successfully solidified his position of power. Recognizing the potential of the Normans who had recently been his enemies, he saw an opportunity to make use of them. On a strategically important hill near the border of Lombard Benevento, at the site of ancient Acre, he built a fortress town named Troia. He then stationed a significant number of Norman knights there, hiring them to guard the border. Their first challenge came in 1022. When Holy Roman Emperor Henry II arrived in southern Italy to assert imperial and papal authority, aiming to counter the growing Byzantine presence. Despite the emperor's efforts, the Normans and their allies successfully defended the fortress, enduring a 3-month siege by Henry's army. They managed to secure the border for the Byzantine Catapon, who had defeated them at Cannae just 4 years earlier. The loss of Emperor Basil II in 1025 significantly weakened Byzantine power in Italy, as the empire would experience nearly 50 years of ineffective emperors. This shift in Byzantine foreign policy did not go unnoticed by certain Lombard leaders, who took advantage of the situation by recruiting Norman mercenaries. These Normans added a new, unpredictable element to the ongoing conflicts in the region. At the time, the main issue in Lombard politics was the aggressive expansion of Pandulf, the ruler of Capua, who was notorious for his predatory and ruthless tactics. Known as the Wolf of the Abruzzi, Pandulf had been deposed and imprisoned by Emperor Henry II for his exploitation of neighboring territories. However, in 1027, Emperor Conrad mistakenly released him, thinking it an act of clemency. Seizing this opportunity, Pandulf returned to southern Italy, where he hired the most powerful Norman bands to help him regain control of his principality. Within a short time, Pandulf had recaptured Capua, dominated Salerno, and taken the Duchy of Naples, which had been left vulnerable due to the recall of the Byzantine Catapon, Bojoans. Pandulf's rapid rise to power alarmed his neighbors, and he soon became the dominant leader in the region. Yet, emboldened by his success, he also began to harass and loot church properties, including the imperially protected abbey of Monte Cassino. While these actions further enriched him, they also angered the Pope and made Emperor Conrad regret his decision to release Pandulf. Meanwhile, the Norman mercenaries, still without lands of their own, continued to fight in the petty wars of southern Italy, often facing off against each other. In 1030, a pivotal event occurred that would dramatically change the status of the Normans in southern Italy. Sergius, the former ruler of Naples, sought assistance in reclaiming his city and sent messengers to Rainulf Dregno, a leader of Norman mercenaries serving Pandulf. The two sides negotiated an alliance, and Rainulf and his men switched allegiances. As a result, Pandulf was driven out of Naples, Sergius regained control of the city, and Rainulf was positioned to claim the rewards promised in the negotiations. In 1031, Sergius constructed a castle at Aversa, which was granted to Rainulf to serve as a Neapolitan stronghold on the border with Capua. Along with the castle, Rainulf received the hand of Sergius's sister in marriage and a substantial land grant. His new mission was to launch raids into Pandulf's territories, both to weaken his rival and to assert his own power. This event marked a turning point, signaling the end of the Normans as mere mercenaries. Rainulf, once a hired soldier, had now become a territorial lord, with a castle and rich lands under his control. This shift in status set a precedent for other Lombard rulers, and soon several other Normans were granted land and titles. By the spring of 1038, Rainulf's rise was solidified when he was formally recognized as Count of Aversa by Holy Roman Emperor Conrad II during an expedition to Italy.